You were such an incredibly cute child, which isn't something you really...
From the age of 5, I didn't want to do anything else but music. I mean, went off to piano lessons, I did piano, I joined bands at the age of 11, all sorts of bands, played in rock bands, jazz bands, dance bands, played in pubs, clubs from a very young age, played in strip clubs, played a few wrong notes in strip clubs, but that's only to be expected. I didn't want to do anything else. It's all I ever wanted to do. And I suppose when I went to the Royal College, and it was one of the things that I wanted to combine different kinds of music, because back then in the late 60s there was still a very much them and us between the classical world and the rock world. And I just thought they've got so much in common. Why can't they see that they've got so much in common? Why is there this them and us? And it was a conscious effort. I wanted to try and break that barrier down. I wanted the people in the classical world who thought that the rock world was just something to be laughed at, to actually understand how actually clever and musical it was. And I wanted the same for the rock. It was just saying, oh no, the classical, they aren't fuddy-duddies. These guys are quite geniuses in things that they do. And it was fueled very much by, I had a great art in music professor at the Royal College, same name as the actor, Anthony Hopkins. Man was a genius. And he very much wanted people to understand all different genres of music. And I learnt an awful lot from him on that. And I suppose it was one of the things that he said in one lecture once, which was about instruments, that all throughout time, the orchestra has changed and evolved because of new instruments coming along. Just even on a basic thing, the clarinet, which used to be what they called the simple system, a chap called Boehm came in and developed the Boehm system, which made more notes possible and easier playing. The same with the flutes, the Boehm system, same with the oboe. The French horn never used to have valves, could only actually play so many notes. Some of the great horn concertos were written around the dozen or so notes that it could play. You know, that's why they were written like that. Then when the valves came in, they could play loads of notes and do lots of... So it's always evolved all the time. And yet when some new instruments came in, especially electronic instruments, they were precluded. It was never... Nobody ever wrote for them as part of the orchestra. And I was convinced, as indeed was Anthony Hopkins, that if people like Wagner were alive today and he heard the Moog synthesizer and he heard synthesizer, he would go nuts. They'd be in the orchestra. They'd be part of it. They wouldn't be a separate unit. And even when bands were starting to use orchestras and play with orchestras, it was always the band and then arrangements with the orchestra to fit the band. What I always tried to do from word go, from both Journey, King Arthur, 1984, is to say the band is part of the orchestra. And everything that I wrote as if the band was part of the orchestra and not a separate thing with orchestra accompaniment. And it's just been a very exciting thing to do.